What is up, everyone? It is me, Todd Bookspan, founder of Win by Noon and co-founder of the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind Group, and super excited today to jump in and continue on our TCA Tuesdays as none other than Deborah Bird framed it. I am excited to kind of continue on. I think this is the 8th or 9th week that it's gone on, and we're grateful to still have some players in the game, both old and new. But before I jump in, welcome, Deborah. I want to, of course, my co-host, want to make sure that I give you all the honor for being here.
Well, hello, and it's good to see Walt. You've been our steady participant. I don't think you've missed once, so yay for Walt. And then Michelle Castle, welcome, and Brandy.
Brandy Squires.
There we go. So those of you who are kind of new to watching this format, really, it just started off for 1 month and then it's continued on to month 2. We've had Jeremy coach most of them, and then me, Dave, and Deborah have kind of shared and coached the rest. And first off, I think I would say exactly what you just said, Deborah. Thanks, Walt, for being here and be so consistent. We committed to do this through the end of September, so we'll have one last one next week, and then it'll probably be reimagined for TCA Tuesday going forward. We'll try to figure out how to make it different, make it valuable for all of you. And I would say that, my reason for wanting to show up and continue this is because I think that accountability is really important. I've launched a couple of loan officers who are doing CMA a day challenges with real estate agents across the country. And it's always interesting. I launched one last week with Aaron Johnson, who was the loan officer who told me the story that inspired me to do the TCA and CMA a day. And he launched a small group of 10. And my parting words to them after the kickoff call was, hey, you're going to have good weeks and bad weeks. And those of you who have a bad week this first week, you're not going to show up for the mastermind. And that's disappointing. I said, it's really what you're not hurting anyone but yourself. You're actually have the opportunity to come on and share what your struggles were and how you had those challenges. You can learn from the people who had successes. And so I was very pleasantly surprised yesterday. I jumped in with their group for a few minutes, and most of them were there, not all of them, and including someone who had done 0. And, there was a lot to learn from her contribution. So of course, Walt, you've been a rock star. And those of you who are new to this format, we've done success story, we've done numbers, and we've done challenges in some varying order every week. And so Walt, I'm going to call on you first. So you get a choice. You can either start us off with a success story, or you can start us off with your numbers, whichever you prefer.
So I'll run through the numbers and then share a success story. My numbers were not hugely impressive this last week. But I think my success story will hit a chord with some people. So my numbers were, what do you want first? So leads, I think, leads first. Yeah. So I had 23 total leads. 8 of them were warm leads. The rest were Zillow. Still trying to crack that code. I had 5 TCAs, 6 credit pulls, 6 pre-apps, so pre-approvals, 2 apps, and this last week, 2 closed loans.
2 closed loans, nice. And how about, we've been talking about price exceptions, and you've never had a price exception except for one lock extension, so I'm guessing you did pretty well there again too.
Yes, I now have just clients just paying me money instead. So no pricing exceptions. They say, instead of a pricing exception, let me pay you more. No.
I was told, Walt, that's because of your awesome social media.
It
there you go, plugandplaysm.com.
So yeah, but no, so I didn't have any pricing exceptions this last week. I mean, every once in a while I'll run into a pricing exception with a lock extension or whatever, but I've been very lucky over the last 7, 8, 9 weeks since we've been doing this that really I didn't have any. I have increased my overall margin by 31 basis points, which has been a major, huge thing on my side. So that was a big takeaway. So there's really two success stories, and I'm just going to share it's on me. First, I just wanted to say real quick, the interview that you guys did this morning with Ryan and with Shant, that's his name.
Yep, Shant Managian.
So, I mean, if you guys haven't seen that interview, please watch it. It was really, really good. I've watched a lot of Ryan's stuff during COVID, Ryan Serhant stuff during COVID. And he has a way about him in the way in which he tells stuff. And one thing that he shared this morning was a quote that his father told him when he was moving to New York that really resonated with me this morning. And that was, if you do the work will take care of you. So I have a testimony to that is true. That is a true principle. And so my quote has always been, I learned from a dentist friend of mine years ago that he was a client of mine, and I'd done a couple of transactions for him. And I said, hey, we need to go to lunch. And because that's what you're supposed to do with clients, right? You're supposed to take them to lunch and wine and dine them. And he said, Walt, if I'm not in somebody's mouth, I'm not making money. And then he said the quote that has resonated with me for years. He said, don't worry about the RBIs and the home runs. Just concentrate on the daily doubles or the singles and doubles that you hit. Don't worry about the RBIs and home runs. They will happen, but concentrate on those daily doubles and singles. And so for me, the TCA Day challenge has been concentrating on those daily doubles and singles. And for me, it's been, yes, I've had success stories with insurance agents. I've had success stories with clients, and I've shared those over the period of time. But the biggest success story has been for me. Realizing that I had a client yesterday, it hit me yesterday, that the client was a client that we helped a year ago purchase their house, and he was refinancing through his current servicer. And I'd talked to him a couple of times about that before. And I got kind of upset. I mean, actually not even just kind of upset. I was pissed. I was like livid. And I shot an email back to him, not like angry, but just, hey, we talked about this a couple months ago. I shot an email to you. You didn't respond. Let me see if you're in the right strategy at least. And he responded back. And I needed to remember that the things that we go over in the TCA, loan officers don't go over in the general world. And I forget about that so many times. And I just think that nothing makes me unique or special. So for me, it's helped me to be able to increase my, in a world where I don't feel good enough much of the time. I don't feel worthy much of the time. This challenge has helped me to realize that I am. And it's helped me to be able to get over that in such a way that I'm now going back to my referral partners and my realtors saying, you really don't understand what I do. You don't understand the value that I bring. I'm not just another loan officer. And I've been able to have conversations with them on a whole different level than a high trust interview has, than any other things that I've had. So for me, it's been massive in that sense.
That's huge. That's huge. It sounds like you got confidence from consistency, right? And, as I said, I wasn't just, kind of blowing smoke. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you've showed up, that you've been super consistent, had the opportunity when we did that site visit together pre-COVID to get to know you. And I think that you just bring so much to the table. So don't ever think otherwise. That's for sure.
Yep. Well, and it's been, when you're in the hot seat and Jeremy's pressing on you, it has been tough. I'm not going to lie.
Only to make you better. Only to make you better.
I told Dave I was ready to hit the off button a couple of times and just say sayonara, guys. But it makes you better, and being able to be surrounded by all the individuals that have been on this, that and has been huge for me. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to have been here, to have walked through this, and now helping others move forward as well.
That reminds me of the Coach Carvel interview you guys did, Todd, where it was talking about character accumulation. And to me, if you're using your Win by Noon planner and you're tracking those small daily activities that you commit to, it starts to develop the character. You're chipping away a little bit at a time, and then you see small bite-sized pieces of progress, which is that small progress that then creates huge momentum and motivation. But if you're not tracking it, sometimes I feel like subconsciously you don't know if you're just getting lucky, if you're just winging it. And that's why I am, and this is not a plug, for Win by Noon, just because Todd's on the call. I really feel in order to build character, and to know which activities are most successful so that you're structuring your day and prioritizing with the highest revenue generating activities possible, you've got to track it. And, looking back, since Walt is, the consistent one in the group who can go back about 8 weeks to see not only what this has done for his numbers, but I think what's most powerful and profound, what you just shared, Walt, is what it's done for you internally, that now you do feel worthy and you do know your X factor, and you're able to kind of put that cape back on and go out there and meet with new partners and with clients. And when you psychologically can own that confidence, I mean, that's huge. So good job, Walt.
Love it.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. All right. So Michelle, you and Brandy are on the hot seat. So introduce Brandy Squires so we all know who she is and how she fits in your world. And then we'll let you guys jump in with your numbers.
So Brady and I have worked together for about 15 years now. And she's the loan officer on my team. And we made the commitment to do TCAs on every pre-approval about 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And when Walt, when you were talking about, it's really whenever the clarity you get and the confidence that comes from clarity, when you realize what your unique value proposition is, I mean, that's a gift. And just the confidence that you have with that clarity is a winner. And so for us, learning how to use TCAs, which from the very beginning was so basic, but then understanding the value that you give to people. We've always said that we've changed people's lives because we help them into homes, but really that's not the life-changing that we can do whenever you are doing, when you're looking at someone's finances holistically, instead of just helping them buy this next thing, is so huge. So Brandy has been on, Brandy and I've worked together for 15 years, and just that whole TCA learning curve was just one of those things where it's like, if you just do it often enough, it becomes a habit. And I mean, honestly, it's a muscle memory if you do it often enough. It is like, okay, at this part of the process, this is when I do a TCA, because that's the way I do it every single time. It does. I mean, it becomes muscle memory. So I would love for you guys to ask Brandy some questions on TCAs and how she uses it in her business. It'll be fun.
You want to go first, Deborah?
Sure. So I think to your point, Michelle, and I'm glad you brought that up. And Brandy, if you'll address when you are starting off, and I talk to a lot of loan officers all throughout, and sometimes the feedback I get is I don't know if I have enough time to do a TCA. So can you talk about the learning curve and how once you structured it the right way and started building that habit, how has it helped you with your clients?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it takes no time. Once you have the template in there, it's so easy. I mean, you just go in and you change just a couple of things. And I mean, it's super, super easy. And I cannot tell you how much my clients just so appreciate it. I mean,
Do you
can
use
tell,
video, y'all?
not so much.
Okay.
I don't.
That changes today.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
So can we talk about the differences in using the video too, whenever in just a little bit, because there's several different ways to do it, but I want y'all's feedback on that.
Absolutely.
But I mean, just the eye-opening moment for my client, as far as just even having the conversation with them over the phone versus them being able to see the actual numbers, just, having the conversation with them and then them being able to go at home at night and just pull it up on their
Mhm.
computer and actually looking at the numbers and the comparisons and just getting the actual view of, an FHA comparison versus a conventional comparison versus if they were to get a grant or with seller concessions or it's just endless possibilities. I mean, and it is just, it's a game changer.
I think before we were doing TCAs, we probably confused the heck out of people because we were just talking numbers, and then you would email numbers, and a bunch of different estimates, and it just became overwhelming. Like when people come to us after they've already talked to a couple competitors, they're just glazed over. They're so freaking confused. But when you can take that confusion again and create some clarity for them by, let me just see the estimates that you've received and let me try to put them parallel for you so you can see the differences in each one of them. Just helps them make a decision based on facts instead of feelings because they're staring at the different options available. Again, that clarity gives them the confidence to move forward and feel good about their decision rather than feel pushed.
That's huge. So do y'all have your numbers ready, Michelle? Can we go over the last 7 days of how many?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
I pulled up my numbers. We literally just got off the golf course from a fundraiser. So
Okay. So
Randy,
number of
that
leads
numbers,
in the last 7 days,
26.
any of those internet leads?
No.
Okay. How many credit pulls?
What was my apps? Hang on, I got them sitting right. 20.
Okay, 20 credit pulls. How many TCAs?
We did TCAs on all the pre-approvals, and that is, your numbers are in different order. 17.
So 17 TCAs and 17 pre-approvals?
Yes.
Okay,
No,
and then-
I'm sorry. I got the things lumped together. I may have to go back over to my dashboards. Pre-quals were 8 pre-approvals, 9 pre-quals. So 8 TCAs, 9 pre-quals.
Okay. And then how many new full apps under contract?
3.
And how many closings last week?
3. No,
Any
sorry,
pricing?
4 closings.
Any pricing exceptions?
I couldn't pull that.
Okay. And
I mean,
then
I
I'm
could have, but
curious,
not this fast.
how many quality conversations did you have in the last 7 days where you proactively either reached out to new real estate partners talking about the CMA a day challenge?
We talked about it at our lunch and learn that we had last Wednesday. And there were 23 on the call. I'm struggling with that, Deborah.
In what way?
Not having the conversation. I'm struggling with the buy-in from the realtors.
Of why to do a CMA a day?
They feel they're too busy.
Too busy doing what?
My point. I mean, I would love to have a coaching session on that with them.
They
Well,
may
that's a
not
good challenge to
Deb.
discuss for sure.
Busy being busy, right? The rocking chair syndrome. Remember, Todd?
They're busy being busy.
Yeah.
Not going anywhere.
Yeah, it drives me crazy because they're just thinking about today and not the future. And that's what bothers me about that whole, I think it's so important that they're working on their business at least 2 hours a day, but trying to get them to understand the difference of working on your business and working in your business is already, that's already a discussion. And then, okay, what are you doing when you're working on your business? This is like a perfect conversation to be having with
Well,
your past clients.
I used to buy, so they make a real estate version of the Win by Noon planner that if you committed and you make that a gift to them, but it's for them to use. And again, they may not use it perfectly right out of the gate, which I didn't either. And it drove me nuts when it
There's no
wasn't
perfect.
perfectly. Go ahead.
There is no perfect.
Well, it's
It's
like I am one of those that I used to redo my notes when I would mess up. I'm like, oh, got to get a new page. So I've come a long ways. But it's an accountability where if you make that a gift for them, it's like, okay, these are the things that we're going to track that are proven to help you be most successful. And if we do these things daily, then you can review them per the week and then per the month and per quarter. So if everyone, including you brought your planner for the day that you guys are going to meet to talk about the business, it's like, okay, let's look at what are we being busy at doing?
Mhm.
Because I feel like a lot of times that's an excuse from not being intentional and proactively using our time and choosing to use our time wisely. And
For sure. And I taught a class 2 weeks ago, just talking about, like you can design your business to be anything you want it to be. You can decide who you want to work with based on who brings you the most joy. And then it's just a numbers game. How many deals, what's your net need to be? Just like totally back into it and then create this business plan. Those CMAs have got to be part of it because you've got to have a good past client, an annual review. And CMAs are perfect annual review conversations.
so when you said you had
Realtors.
pushback from them and they said they're just too busy, how did you respond to that?
Can we schedule some time to get together so we can look over your business and marketing strategy that you have in place?
And then when you
Because
meet
that
with
to
them,
me is a one-on-one conversation. Okay, what are you busy doing?
Mhm.
What are your goals? How do you know you're going to meet those goals? What are you doing to meet those goals?
And when you have those one-on-one conversations with them, what do you feel is like, how does that typically play out when you dial in and go a little bit deeper?
That's a great idea. It's the follow through that's always the problem.
Which I think that's for everybody.
Yeah,
Mm.
no, everybody always leaves clear headed, pumped up, amped up, ready to go. But
I think
unless
it's
you're
when they have no
sending,
plan
yeah,
and they don't break it down to like daily, small, bite-sized pieces that are manageable.
no, that is so key. Like I just read a book, finished it up this morning, and it's talking about how to develop habits. And it's really, like you just said, it's you take what you want your habit to be and you break it up into mini habits. And those mini habits, you have to do it often enough that it really becomes a muscle memory for your brain, as like it just happens automatically. But in order to change one thing, you've got to break it into the mini habits, simple steps, like as in using a planner every single morning and getting a habit of opening up that planner at this time of the day with a cup of coffee, or whatever your habit is going to be. It's got to be repetitive.
And I tell even my loan officers today, I'm like, you already have habits. They're just not good habits. So we don't even realize the habits that whether it's hitting snooze, that's a habit. Being reactionary, that's a habit, because you haven't interrupted the pattern to proactively dictate how you're going to invest your time.
And you know how you do it?
Tell me.
Well, it's willpower. It's not going to be an automatic. You're going to fight it, and it's willpower that pushes you through, that makes you do it. So for Walt, it's like every pre-approval or whatever the mark is. It's not a habit yet, but I know at this step in the process, according to my checklist, this is when I do a TCA.
For me, I've thought a lot about this because I've got, 10 realtors that I've spoke to, and out of those 10, none of them have started it. And we're, for whatever reason, we're doing like more loans right now for realtors than like personal loans for realtors than I've ever done in my career. And what I've found is, when you ask a realtor, hey, I need you to send me my P&L. My what? Well, your P&L, your profit and loss for the year. Well, I get my checks. Like, what do you want? What's a profit and loss? It would show, it's like any business would have. And so I need your P&L and a balance sheet. A balance sheet? What the frick is a balance sheet? Okay, you probably don't have a balance sheet. Just forget about that. But you will have a P&L, and then you have to explain through, what is a P&L and how does that work? And And I find that, specifically in our business, we see it a lot more where the loan officer doesn't have a CEO mindset. They don't have a mindset that they're a business owner working for a guild or a cross country or whatever. Where, like Michelle and I, we've got that mindset. It's we own our own practice within wherever we work at. And I find that right now there's a lot of realtors out there that they don't have that mindset. Even though they're 1099, they have the mindset that they're kind of almost like an employee of that company. And the going's great right now, and it's going to be great forever. Well, no, it's not, because I mean, Michelle, I don't know how long you've been in the business. I've been in it 23 years, and I think you've probably been in it just as long as I have, if not more. And, but, the times change, and they change so quickly. I mean, Cred, how did, we know from 2008 how fast business just turns off. And so for me, I've been able to get them excited. I'll share, hey, there's been a proven track record to be able to increase your listings by $11 million within 90 days. And so can I share that with you? Well, yeah, of course. And then I start to walk through them, and then they're like, oh, a CMA a day? Yeah, I mean, you can do it to your past client database. You can do it to your sphere of influence here. You can do it, and we walk through multiple different paths. You can do it, to expired listings. Oh yeah, just one CMA a day? Yeah, how long does it take you to do a CMA? It takes me like 15 minutes. Perfect. Send it to me and I'll do a TCA with it, and we'll send that to the client, and we'll do a video with it. And so, and they get excited, and then I send them the form, and it's like, well, I'm going on vacation. So, in 3 weeks. So I really don't want to start it before that. And I already know, I mean, Michelle, you and I both know what's coming up here. And Todd, I mean, well, and Deb, all of us know it's as soon as we hit October, it's going to be, well, Halloween's coming up. So I don't know, I really want to, and November, I mean, Thanksgiving is in 2 months from now.
And Christmas.
And then it's like, well, Christmas, I mean, I can't do anything during Christmas, and this is the time that I've always coached my loan officers that, no, this is the time you press on the gas.
This is
the
go
time
time.
you power through, and you have to power through. Again, it goes to, if you do the work will take care of you.
Yeah.
So we get it, but I think part of it is that motivation. So I've got to work more intently on my side of making sure that the realtors that have started the CMA challenge are motivated. And so I'm looking for ways to be able to help them be motivated. So that's really what I'm working on.
I would say this, it's really hard to motivate people, right? And I think we've all been in that same situation where we're encouraging people and we just can't quite figure out, why aren't they a go-getter? Because you're a go-getter, we're all go-getters. And I think a little bit of that is, I think you nailed it, Walt, with, hey, you got to get them excited, right? But you also have to give them a little bit of that slap upside the head. You got to rub a little salt in the wound. Hey, you know what? How are your listings going? Who here is closing all the loans they want to close? You say that in front of a room of 20 something realtors, you're going to only have 2 or 3 people who say they've got all the transactions they want, if any. And so it's just kind of the reminder of, hey, great, then here's a solution for you. However, it's going to take a time commitment. And so it's a little bit of excitement. It's a little bit of pounding them down. And then it's a little bit about bringing them back along of, hey, it's not hard, but I mean, it's not simple, but it's not hard. It's somewhere in between. It's that commitment, right? When you hear Ryan Serhant talk about, he's got his day in 15-minute increments, right? Like I could see I had him squirm when I asked him the last question, when we got to like right at the time that I knew he needed to jump off, and I asked him a question and I gave him permission to jump off, but I could tell he was waiting for Sean to finish the question so he could say, thanks guys, and then jump off, right? He was trying to be gracious, but we took him a few minutes into his next 15-minute window. And super achievers are that way, right? When you talk to, anyone in our business who's at the level that you are all at, they're very disciplined with their time. And unfortunately, we know that a lot of real estate agents and loan officers are not. And so I think a lot of it is you have to get them excited about the opportunity to get $11 million worth of listings. You got to get them excited the fact that when Jimmy Burgess did that and he got out of production, that over the next year, he got another 5 million of listings and 3 million of buyers from that same original 72 CMAs he sent. He made the commitment. He took the time. And you've got to get them excited about that. And then you have to come alongside of them and you have to be their accountability partner. You have to put your arm around them. And that arm sometimes is going to be, ooh, nope, I didn't get one done every day. And okay, awesome. Well, hey, what got in the way? How can we plan around that? Maybe next time, can you batch and do, 2 or 3 on one day? So that way, that next day when you got to go to the golf tournament and drink a lot of beer before noon, that you don't miss that day. You can circle back around. And so I think it's offering them the tools, it's offering them the opportunity to get there, and then have that accountability piece with it. And you have to give them a little bit of grace because, again, unfortunately, not everyone has that same desire that we have. Not everyone has that same commitment that we have. But I do think you've got to create that community for it. It seems like the loan officers who've created, whether it's a Facebook group or just a live lunch and learn, or just a webinar where they're doing it on Zoom each week, yeah, you're going to lose people. And then your job as a leader is to come back along and say, oh gosh, you know what, Deborah, you missed last week. What's going on? Hey, can you mind coming back next week? And again, you have to give them permission to fail. Like I said, you have to tell them, hey, even if you don't do them, I want you to show up to learn and share. I won't pick on you, right? I mean, I think that's the hard part, right? Walt talked about that. He felt picked on, and we don't want to have anyone feel that way. And it's just creating that environment to help them be successful. Tammy Kranich, who's been on a couple of these calls, I jumped in with her group yesterday and we interviewed 2 realtors who've just been crushing with it. One of them said flat out, I've gotten some listing appointments, but I haven't gotten listings. But she says, I know if I keep doing this and I do it now in the rest of the year, it's going to happen, right? It's the consistency of me committing to do it. And I just love their transparency, that they shared, within the group. So that's kind of my 2 cents on how to kind of get them along. I feel like if you have them in the room, like that's huge. Like, you crush it there, but then you have to figure out, how do I grab them, make them feel like, okay, this is something, that I need to do. And, I know you guys have it in you. I think it's just a matter of changing a little bit of the perspective of the story, create a little bit of the pain, and then also share the glory they can have from it.
Well, and we set up, I'm gonna put Brandy on the spot because we had set up an accountability text, a once a week text that
Love
we
that.
scheduled. Are we getting any feedback off of that? Because we went in and scheduled, we changed up the scripting just a little bit, but we scheduled the text to go out automatically for us with all of the realtors who signed up to do the CMA challenge. But from an I haven't done my part to stay on top of those that said, yeah, I need to be held accountable, check in with me. So I'm so glad we're on this call. How is that going? You haven't checked? Okay, well, we failed. But we'll get back on the horse. All
right.
Okay.
Well, I love the transparency on it. And it's not a failure yet, because you have an opportunity to go back and,
Right.
drag everyone back along, kind of kicking and screaming. And I think it's just a great opportunity. I think that the connection piece is really important. That was one of the other pieces I took away from interviewing Ryan this morning. He just said, hey, I took the time during COVID to reach out to 15 people a day, email, text, tweets. He did all sorts of different things, direct messages, and how that connection really mattered. And I think that's, again, what people need. And I think busy people just need a reminder of it, and create a system around it in your calendar as well, right? What gets scheduled gets done. And you just have to have that blocked and be okay with, hey, what I thought normally I do this type of call, but let me actually add in this other call for, whether it's 10 minutes a day or whether it's, a 30 or 90-minute segment, once a week, or delegating it, right? You've got Brandy, the 2 of you can kind of tag team it. I think that would be, great opportunity for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to re-brainstorm on this. And honestly, we got busy with our own business. So, it's on us too, because we didn't make it a habit for ourselves to do that part of it. So.
All right, well, we'll hold you accountable. We'll have you report back. I do think we should circle back to the question on video in TCA.
Yes.
Let me give my, sort of my 2 cents as someone who, in my career did thousands of TCAs and, has coached a lot of loan officers and still has a team, that does them. For me, the video on the TCA does a few things. Number one is it puts a name to the face, right? Which you guys all know, that people want to do business with people that they like. And so it's an extra piece, and it's nothing fancy. And, the whole idea of, you don't need to re-record it when you stumble on something, unless you say their name wrong, maybe you re-record that, or maybe you make a joke of it. But it's an opportunity to connect with them eye to eye, right? You want to make sure you're looking up at the camera, not looking down at the TCA the whole time. You want to make sure you're looking up and, start with their name. So excited, appreciate your time, and here's the opportunity. And then you're really walking them through what you would tell them on the phone call about what you like about it. And then you're going to wrap it up with, awesome. If you want to make a recommendation, some loan officers make a recommendation. Hey, I recommend strategy 2, and here's why. If you agree, just send back a reply, yes, and I'll get it started. Or some people say, hey, let me know your thoughts feel free to reply back with whichever strategy you choose, or just give me a call. I'm happy to discuss. Either one of those endings is good, but where the magic comes in is you've all had it, right? I was coaching a loan officer through it yesterday, and he was talking to a real estate agent and their mother-in-law about a refinance. And the mother-in-law had a Wells Fargo quote, and all she wanted to know was what's the rate. And so the loan officer had to say, well, there's not just one rate, right? So I'm going to send you a total cost analysis so you can look at more than just the rate and the payment. You can actually look at the cost over time. He set it all up correctly, and then said, let me send you different rates. So made sure that, knew the Wells Fargo rate was in the middle, sent a lower rate with a higher fee, sent a higher rate with a lower fee, and then explained it. And by doing that with a video, it eliminates the need to have to re-explain it to the real estate agent, then explain it to the mother-in-law, and then explain it to whoever else is going to be part of the decision. And so that's the interesting part about it, is you see how many people actually watch it. So it's really, to me, a time saver, because it could take what's a 15-minute to 30-minute conversation. You still may have to get back on the phone with them, but it's gonna shorten it, right? You already have said, hey, I know you already watched the video. What questions do you have? And then instead of having to re-explain it all, they're just going to tell you where they're stuck, and then you get them unstuck and get the transaction going.
That's good.
So Todd, we send videos out in BombBomb, and Dave and I've had this discussion a couple of times, but we send the video in BombBomb explaining the TCA all in one email. Is it better to send it in Mortgage Coach, do the screen share video instead of doing the BombBomb?
I've never done it via BombBomb. I think it's just one of those things of whatever works for you. If you're more comfortable doing it BombBomb, great. It's built into Mortgage Coach, so it's there as a native piece. Great. I know, either one. I guess it really just matters is what's getting opened and what clients are responding to. And if it's working in BombBomb, great. Keep doing it. I think oftentimes I hear a loan officer who's watching this saying, oh, I better go get BombBomb now. And I'm like, no, you don't need to relearn something and spend more money. If you don't have it, don't do it. If you have it, try it and see what works. You can test it, right? Send out 3 with BombBomb and send out 3 with just the Mortgage Coach thing, and see if there's any difference in how clients react. And if one's easier or faster, then go that route. If one, gets a higher, conversion rate, then obviously that's the one I would be using.
Well, and I would think too, and Walt, I want to hear your take on that, but if you do it within Mortgage Coach, then if they open up the TCA on their phone, they're still getting the video versus having to pull up their email and click play and then go back over to their TCA, which is kind of cumbersome.
Agreed. And I hadn't thought about that from a technical perspective, but yes, if that's what they have to do, you're creating friction in the transaction.
Yeah.
And the whole goal is less friction. And, it should be something pretty simple. I know there's some loan officers who call it something different than a total cost analysis. My team just puts total cost analysis in the headline, and it says something along the lines of, hey, Michelle, as we discussed, I prepared a total cost analysis for you to review loan options. Here's the link. And then after that, it says something along the lines of, I added a video, no laughing. Let's jump on a call to discuss. That's it. It's a signature that's saved in emails. They just have to cut and paste the link in there. I know some loan officers, change the URL on the link or the whatever, the hyperlink, to say something like, Michelle's TCA, my team doesn't do any of that. That's just more time for them. It's more friction on our side. But the whole goal is how do you make something that people complain about taking a long time? So going back to the CMA for 1 second, well, one of the women yesterday said that her first CMA took her 2 hours. And she said, you know what, I finally just decided I was working on it too much and I had to figure out how to get it lower. And I think that's, again, a hurdle for loan officers. How quick can you get it done? Because, done is better than perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
For me,
I
Michelle,
laugh whenever I look at some of our older original strategies. They're so elementary and boring, but you know what? They were still way better than what we were doing before TCAs. So, I mean, anyway, yes. Well, what?
So what I found is I do it through Vidyard, which is similar to BombBomb. I've used BombBomb in the past, and so Vidyard, it's the same thing as BombBomb. What I found is that when I have done a video, which I might say, going back to what Todd just said, my first video that I did with Mortgage Coach was through Mortgage Coach, and I took 23 takes. The only reason why I didn't take a 24th take is because I didn't watch the 23rd take. I just finally said, I'm just going to send it. So I think that's a secret. No matter what video, you are who you are. Just be authentic and just be you. And unless you completely botch their name, then yes, then do a 24th take. But otherwise, just explain it. Explain it as if you're talking to a friend who's in the camera, a little friend in the camera, or a client in the camera, whatever, but anyway, I like Vidyard because what I found is that with the Mortgage Coach one, even though it's great, when it's sent, they don't know how to click the button to get to payment, to get to, the closing cost scenarios. So therefore on Vidyard or BombBomb, you're walking them through that and they can see you clicking on it. So I include, when I send the email with the Vidyard link, I include the TCA there. So I'll see a client open the Vidyard up. I'll know that they watched it. And inevitably it takes around 10 minutes later, boom, they open up the TCA link. And then over time, I start to see that TCA link opened more and more and more. So that's how I do it.
What I think is really important about video is, it reminds me of the days when I used to teach, and I taught middle school science. So and it was all inclusion. So ESL, which in Texas, we have a lot of where English isn't their first language, special education students. And I think we forget, just because we're older than 18, that people learn differently. And sometimes, before video was even a big deal, or YouTube, I would record all of my lessons so that my students could go back at their own pace, rewind, rewatch, rewind, look at the visuals. We don't all learn the same way, and we don't all come from the same background and experiences, where sometimes they need to go back and rewatch because they may try to talk to their parent or some kind of influencer in their life where they can't exactly articulate it the same way. And this is probably a domino effect that you guys don't even know, or
And we don't even
it
notice.
compresses their ability to say, well, here, this is what my loan officer sent me. You watch this. Does it make sense to you too? Any other questions you think I should ask? And there's a whole domino that you may not even know that you're making that impression on people just by them being able to go back and watch the video at their own pace, rewatch it, relearn it, so they understand that they are making the best decision for themselves and not just what you are pushing on them.
Well, and I think too, if you were to explain it all in an email, because we all want to educate and help people feel good about the decisions they're making, because they have enough information to make a decision. So, but if you do an email that long that explains all that you really want to explain, it's more than what somebody will scroll and read through. I mean, I read a lot and I won't read a super long email. And so I think video not only shows the personality, but it allows you to elaborate and then actually be able to watch it. What's always so fun though, too, is you'll notice that someone will click on a video and watch like 30 seconds and then they'll click off. And then in the evening, they'll watch the whole thing, and sometimes multiple times. So I know it's an effective way of communicating. And Walt, you're so right. You just don't watch your video. You just hit send.
Yep.
We wouldn't
Laughing
ever
at
send
that.
videos if we watched it.
That's the key. We all overthink it, and I think that's critical. All right, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know we got a late start, but we're about to hit the noon PST. Is there anything else, Deborah, that you want to ask or cover before I allow everyone to get on with their day?
No, I will just say, and this is part of the nugget that I'm going to talk about at the Modern Mortgage Summit, but I challenge you all for the next 7 days to try to do a one-to-many strategy using the TCA. Instead of just going kneecap to kneecap with borrowers or even to agents, how could you use a TCA that you're already creating and allow more people to see better financial strategies when it comes to structuring a mortgage?
Brady and I are doing a Facebook Live on that this evening. So it's our first.
What
We
time?
were going to start doing TCA Tuesdays. I think it was at 5:30, 5:30
right.
Central Time.
All right, you guys should all get on and support Michelle, but don't try to steal her clients. We don't do that here.
No, we don't do that. But you can certainly cheer me on or tell us that we need to consider a different strategy.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Well, I appreciate you guys jumping in. It was nice meeting you, Brandy, Michelle. Great to
Very
have
nice
you
to
in
meet
here.
you.
And Walt, as I said at the start, really appreciate the fact that you've been Mr. Consistency. You've been here, seen your growth through the challenge, and encourage you to keep doing it. And then absolutely, Deborah Bird, plugandplaysm.com. Check her out. Super grateful to have you here as my sidekick today because you always make it better.
Well, thank you. Y'all have an awesome rest of the day, guys.
All right. We'll see you guys
Thanks,
next
guys.
week.
Hi, y'all.